How are you doing, Jan?
Aside from the last 7 minutes, I'm great. uh,
Good, good,
I,
good, good.
yeah, I'm doing very well. Considering I had a little fall yesterday, got a bump on my head.
Oh no.
Yes, with Parkinson's, sometimes I'll just fall and not feel it coming. I won't even know what precipitated it. It just happens.
Like you couldn't do it again if you tried.
No.
Right.
I was
So
in my
was it icy or anything, or did you fall
No, it
inside?
was in this room. I was standing 1 foot over from where I'm seated right now and folding a piece of fabric. And all of a sudden, the next thing I know, my head is hitting the corner of my sewing table.
Oh no.
And so that's the bump. But at least I'm glad I have a bump, so it's on the outside, not the
That's
inside.
true.
So, and
Did you recover quickly, or was that like?
It took a minute because
Yeah.
I was kind of dazed, like, how did that happen?
Right.
So actually, I was in the process of cleaning up this room so it would be presentable today.
I think I see like all crafty things behind you.
Yes, actually, we'll just start with that because
Okay.
that's what I'm really at home with. This room is my escape, my go-to room when I just need to be by myself. I do have a very cozy chair over here.
Do you have a name for the room, by the way?
My she shed.
She shed. Okay.
So over here I have my Japanese knot bags. Can you hear me all right?
I can.
Okay. So these are some of the latest Japanese knot bags. I don't know if you can see them very well, but I've gotten into making zipper cases, zipper pouches, like cosmetic bags.
Yeah.
Little bags and stuff. And so this is one of my favorites.
Oh, I love that.
A friend of mine gave me a whole bunch of fabric samples. She was a fabric wholesaler, and she just had all these samples, and she gave me some beautiful silks and whatnot. So, but I have a new product.
Oh.
Okay, so I have the kitchen boas. So now I have something that just clips onto your belt loop of your pants, so you don't have to have the whole boa thing.
Oh.
It's got
nice.
Little hook there.
Yep.
And like so. So
how does the bottom look? Okay, so it's just like a 2 little towel thing. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. Has doing this type of work been always a part of your life, or is this something that you got later? So let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay. Well, I was a professional pianist for 40 or 50 years, I guess, in reality. But I taught at LSU for over 30 years and developed the collaborative piano program there. And when I was diagnosed, I continued to teach for 11 years after that. I just stopped playing and taught more. So it kind of traded places in terms of volume.
What was it physically just like your hands couldn't do it at all, or just they got tired, or what happened with the playing?
It was a weakness, but also very typical for pianists who get Parkinson's. I was unable to do repetitive motions with my left hand. I was in a lesson in the cello studio with the professor and the student, and we were playing something that required tremolos in the left hand, so just do it back and forth, and it just stopped. And I thought, wait, I didn't tell my hand to stop. Why did that happen? And it continued to happen, and that really bothered me. So after a few months, I heard about this neurologist at Baylor, where they had a performing arts division of neurology. Wow. And I thought, perfect, I'll go to him. Well, he watched me walk across the room and immediately said, I think you have Parkinsonism. Wow. And it just blew me away because I didn't want to hear that.
Right.
But he said, when you walk, you don't swing your left arm as much as you do your right. And sure enough, that was the problem arm and hand. So I was very upset with him because his final words to me were, when you need a good disability letter, come back to me because I write a good one.
Oh.
And that was 17 years ago.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yes. So needless to say, I'm not going back to him.
Yes. Hopefully his final line has changed.
I hope it has. So at any rate, yeah, that's kind of how it started. And then the people at LSU were just wonderful. And since we were developing this program anyway, it allowed me to teach more and play less. Mm. But when it got to the point where they wanted to start a doctoral program in that venue, then I I had to say, I can't, I don't have that drive anymore. I don't have that
Mm.
energy. And it's been passed now to somebody who is really terrific. And I'm happy to say I was in the loop. So it was great.
Oh,
So
good, good.
that's,
So you stopped playing as much and found some other ways to use your hands.
well, the thing that really concerned me was I felt like I would lose my identity because
Mhm.
everybody always thought of me as a pianist. What else does she do? She's a pianist.
Yeah.
Um, so that had me actually really depressed. But about a month after my retirement party, I ran into a woman who was the mother-in-law of Dr. Sarah Perez, who is now my neurologist. And she, Sarah, was a student at the School of Music whose senior recital I accompanied in 2004.
Wow.
So here we are 13 years later, both of us coming back full circle, we call ourselves. And in fact, we have something coming up where we're going to play in Baton Rouge this summer for the big Pennington meeting. But we're always working on something. And it's just really great. It's great to have somebody who understands and knows me and who listens.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
she's terrific. She's terrific.
That's amazing.
So anyway, with that, and it was great for her too, because with medicine, because she had been in music first and foremost, she was anxious to get back to music. So I've been able to give her a little something that she's in return, which is really wonderful. But through all of this, I don't know how I got started making my very first knot bag, honestly. But I started sewing again, and it just kind of took off. I had a friend actually who gave me a bunch of fabric remnants from his upholstery and drapery shop. And let me tell you, that was the best gift he could have given me, because I have made, I don't know how many made. I won't even gander a guess, because it's been a lot. But I've given most of them away. A couple of people insisted on paying me a token for the fabric or something, but I said, hey, I didn't pay for the fabric. But so, and then from that has evolved the zipper pouches and the boas and all that stuff. And
So
now
cool. I mean, you have so many.
it's really fun, because in our neighborhood we have, I think, maybe 26 houses, and at the end of the street is a family of 10 children. Now most of them are in the upper teens or beyond, but there's a little girl who's 9 in the family. She's the baby, and she'll come down to my front door, and she'll knock on the door and say, Miss Jan, I ripped my shorts. Can you sew them back together? Or
Oh.
the boys will say, I've put my hands in my pockets too often and I've torn my suit pants. And right now I'm working on some small alterations for 2 of the middle-aged girls who have a dance to go to Saturday. So their formals need a little oomph.
Oh, that is so nice.
So I'm kind of the grandma of the neighborhood, which is fun.
I bet, I
Yeah.
bet.
Yeah. Also, the other thing that awakened in me through the diagnosis and leaving LSU was learning how much I love poetry. I have really, really just, it's grabbed me, and I'm just really stuck on it now. So
Yeah, so did was some of that, poetry come through any of the composing? It's very lyrical, obviously, right? It's very musical, but you
yes,
didn't write poetry before you.
never. In fact, I kind of was bored by it, or I thought it was very difficult to understand.
Okay.
So
Yeah, tell us how you got involved, like, what was that process?
yeah, it's really kind of interesting, because I didn't pursue it, but somebody at the DPF made me aware of Wayne's class, and he had room, and somebody had said you should really try that. So I thought, well, what have I got to lose? And at first I was really scared. I was afraid to speak because I thought I'd reveal how stupid I was. And yeah, but everybody was so welcoming. And then with my very first poem, I was hooked. So
What did it do? What was the feeling that made you say, "Oh, this is good."
well, they liked it, and so I
They
thought, well,
liked me.
well, maybe I'll do it again. Um, it was called Routines, and if I can find it real fast here, I'll share it with you. But it was
Yeah.
short, um, nothing fancy. Okay, this is the poem Routines.
Oh, excellent.
Dusk has settled, meds wane. Time has come to put the day to bed. Planned relaxation, wrapped in a shower and fresh jams. Teeth are cleaned for tomorrow's nauseas. One last chore, measuring out the morning's magic pills, making sure the water is filled, phone is charged. One last shot at today's crossword, one more Netflix episode. Say goodbye to today with gratitude. Pray for courage for the morrow.
I remember that. Yeah,
That
that's
was,
beautiful.
thank you. So the fact that somebody liked it, I said, okay, I'll stay. And I think we're well into our second year, looking at the third almost.
I think isn't it I think this is almost 3rd. I feel like it started in the 2020, is that possible?
It certainly is possible. It doesn't feel that long to me
Yeah.
because it feels, and yet at the same time, it feels like I've been doing it all for a long time.
Oh, that's pretty great.
And it's easily surpassed any of those sonatas and modern and contemporary pieces I had to rehearse at LSU. So that was a part of my life that I loved, but it's done.
So, let's talk a little bit about well, let's see if Bill talk now? Can we hear you, Bill?
How's that?
I'm
Better. Yay.
yes, you admitted me. Yes, thank you. That's
You
better.
we can hear you and clear, loud and clear.
I was backstage, it said.
You were
And now
backstage.
not anymore. You're center stage now.
I'd love to just, you guys are such a great team. I'd love to hear a little bit about what that were you alone, Jan, when you found out you had Parkinson's? How did that communication go with Bill? Like what happened?
Well, I did go in the exam room alone because I really thought I was going to come out with a diagnosis of tension and stress and overwork, and that I needed some Alexander technique, and boom, that would be it. But I came out with a much longer face. And so there we have it.
What'd you think, Bill?
Well, I was shocked and stunned, and I'm not sure that I ever did the right reaction. I didn't want to go to pieces. That wasn't going to help anything. I didn't know what to do. So we were in Houston near the Galleria, so we did some retail therapy that afternoon.
That seems to be the magic ticket sometimes. But
Yeah, it does seem to help.
Yeah. I don't think there's not a right way to handle that, right?
Well, in that particular episode, it wasn't a real diagnosis. It was Parkinsonism, and he thinks, and
we always prayed that he would be wrong.
right. There was a thing called dystonia, focal dystonia, and pianists get it a lot. So we tried to keep going, and she kept playing. Now, if you go to the Louisiana State University Music Library and search for her name on their website, you'll come up with over 650 results of recitals and CDs and performances over 30 years.
Amazing.
So I figured that was just overuse by a dean who didn't understand. He said, you have to play 25 recitals per semester. That's in 15 weeks. That includes performance, practicing, and sometimes she would come home at nights from a recital, and I'd say, well, how did it go? And she'd shake her head and said, well, it was search and rescue tonight. Meaning she was, her name at the School of Music nickname was Bullwinkle. Rocky the squirrel was always flying around, and Bullwinkle was there with the net to catch him. Now, for the people who don't get that reference, you're just too young.
Yeah.
But it's true. She could make the worst student sound good. So we figured it was just overuse. But it was actually a brain surgeon who did the official diagnosis.
Yeah. How did you end up at a brain surgeon?
Well, actually, around that same time, I had a disc replaced in my neck. I had a fusion or something, between C5 and 6. And but he was the one I went to see for a second opinion, actually, because my Baton Rouge neurologist, then I was seeing somebody who'd given me all kinds of tests and everything was negative, but he was the one who told me I was in denial.
Mm,
That's not easy to hear.
right.
And
So was the pain in your neck, was anything associated with it, or was it just like, oh, just a happenstance that you had to see him and he found this out, or
it really was just kind of by happenstance that I saw Luke. You
uh-huh.
know, that's who you're referring to, Bill.
Yes.
And yeah, he was super nice but direct.
Okay. You got to tell the story about
Oh, pre-op.
she injured her neck with doing physical therapy with a physical therapist who wasn't paying attention. So
I was
it
doing
was not pain, it was weakness in
yeah.
her infraspinatus muscle, something like
Yep,
that.
right.
So
And he came in prior to the surgery and said,
he
hit it,
said,
Jan.
"Let's see now, which fold should I put it in? The incision. Which fold should I make the incision here? Let's use this one right here." Darn
That's great.
it.
Those guys are so charming.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. So, but that was a snap compared to everything else I've been through.
Yeah.
So,
So you finally get the real, well, at least, hey, this is, you're in denial,
yeah,
diagnosis.
it took me a while to read about it.
Like a while, years, months,
No,
days?
no, just but maybe weeks.
Mhm.
You know, but at one point, then I thought, this is not going away. You know, my putting my head in the sand is not going to make it go away. And the best thing I can do is be informed and find out as much as I can about it. And that really helped me, actually, because I felt like I had a basis for asking questions when I saw the doctors. And I knew a little bit more than just a layperson going in and doing what they're told. That's something that just is beyond my imagination, for people to go in without any information to help them, you know, bolster their confidence and
Right.
everything. And actually,
No.
that has helped me with my women's. We have a small women's support group, women only, and it's really super. There are 10 of us, and we're not always there, hardly ever all of us at the same time. But sometimes we just Zoom, and it's amazing. You know, we have stuff to talk about that we don't want to talk about in front of men.
Mhm.
So we all need that. And even if it's just the support of somebody saying, "Gosh, you look great today. You must be doing well," you know, or "Gosh, you're walking smoother today. What'd you do differently?"
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah. And sharing all of the great things you're, "Hey, I tried this, I tried this." And
Yes, yes.
yeah.
Actually, what I've been trying lately, and Bill's been really great to transport me to and from and sit and wait for me, is I'm seeing a personal trainer, and I'm doing a lot of weight resistance training.
Excellent.
And once a week, I get a 30-minute massage on my bad knee. And
Ooh.
so I'm really feeling better. And I hope it helps me be alive a long time.
Yes.
Yes.
And mobile.
And mobile. Yes.
Yes.
That's, you don't, you know, when I first started freezing and having difficulty walking, I thought earlier, how I'm never going to forget how to walk. That's
Mm.
natural. It's instinctual. You can't possibly forget how to walk. And then when it happened, it was like, wow, that's really weird.
Yeah,
Really?
it's just when you finally get to the moment where your brain does not cooperate, or they're not working together, it's an
Yes,
odd feeling, right?
it really is. In fact, once I was in my primary care physician's office, and he's great. I really enjoy, I'm lucky to have him as my doctor. But we were at the end of our appointment, and I got up to leave, and I was doing that little stutter, you know, where I shake a little bit. And he said, "Look at that. Your brain's trying to tell your leg to move, and it won't do it. That's really
Mm,
interesting." So I provided him some interesting something to look at that morning.
right.
But it is true. It is true. It's like a stutter, short in the wiring or something. Yeah, it's
Right.
very, very strange.
So here's a just an added thing that we've noticed in the last couple of years. Jan has always had absolute pitch, meaning she can listen to a piece of music and she knows what the notes are. She knows what key it's in. And she still has that, but now she identifies everything a half step sharp. So if it's in the key of C major, she hears it in the key of D flat. or is it the
Whoa.
other way around?
or C sharp. Yeah. No, that's right.
Yeah. And
Um,
the other thing is that it's more difficult for her to play a very steady tempo. And
I
I've
see.
heard this from other people, other musicians who have Parkinson's, that your your sense of pulse gets haywire.
Well,
Mhm.
my sense of pulse is the same as my walking. You know how you hear about their steps first start out nice and big, then they get shorter and quicker, and then you stop. It's
Yeah.
exactly what happens to my walking. And so same with playing. I start out at a good tempo, and then I eventually get too fast, and it's out of kilter.
Yeah, and
So
what, Nenad was talking about, what is it called, the on guitar? He couldn't do the,
Strumming,
it wasn't
or,
strumming, it was what
oh,
did
picking,
plucking.
plucking.
it was something else where it was, like, up and down, up and down, not just,
Oh,
I don't think he called it strumming. Anyway, maybe he did call it that. But that was the thing that went for him,
uh-huh.
was, like, he could do the, the notes, but he couldn't do this like he wanted to. And, he actually started playing ping pong, and then he was able to,
That
yeah, do it.
is that's the latest thing they say as a great exercise for Parkinson's.
Yep.
So
Yeah, so you can look up pingpongforparkinson.org and, find some ping pong.
yeah,
Yeah, so that, I mean, that saved him. He said for 5 years he couldn't play, and he was so frustrated, and
wow.
somebody invited him to ping pong. He started playing, and now he's playing guitar again. And, he was a
That's
violinist for his whole life too, so
wow.
pretty
Well, I
cool.
was in contact with a doctor at Johns Hopkins who is or was a professional violinist, and he could have gone that route completely, but he keeps it as an avocation now. And so he's told me about saxophonists, when their lips get the tremor, they can't.
Oh, yeah.
That's devastating. And he has a violist as a patient who is having that trouble coordinating the left hand with the bow hand.
Mhm.
So he has actually begun a Center for Music and Parkinson's at Johns Hopkins.
Oh, wow.
He's a
Um,
great guy. He talked with me one time on his way home from the office. And in fact, it was Wendy Miller, another one of our ambassadors, who put me in touch with him. See, the connections, they're just all over the place.
right?
It's,
Right.
it's really what makes it bearable having this condition.
Yeah.
You know,
So
you
many
don't,
people get
so
you.
many people, there are so many avenues for comfort and help.
Yeah.
Well, there's a
Yeah.
great analogy with that word connections, because um, anatomically, biologically, that's one of the problems. The connections between this and a muscle isn't working. So you have to find a different route, a different connection.
Love that.
How's that for a segue?
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how old were your kids when you were diagnosed? They were still at home, yes?
Yes. Let's see. 17. Jonathan would have been 20. So he would have been out of the house.
Mhm.
And Tim would have been 15. Is that right, Bill? Yeah.
Mm-mm. Yeah, 15.
Yeah, 15. So he was in high school.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And, how did that go? What happened with that? With
Well,
both of your kids?
I don't really remember their reaction, honestly. Um, Tim is generally not very extroverted in his responses. Jonathan is more sensitive in that regard, but I don't remember anybody being upset. And I have to say now, at their age, 37 and 32, they are very supportive and very attentive.
They live nearby?
They do. Our one son is 12 minutes from us, and the other son is about 30 minutes from us. He's a Roman Catholic priest.
Priest, right.
Yeah. And Jonathan is our rock drummer and vice president of the Arts Council in Baton Rouge.
Ooh, that's
So
wonderful.
he's a great drummer. If you ever want to look him up, it's called the Mixed Nuts.
Is it do they have is it a website, The Mixed Nuts, or what?
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm,
it's a
yes.
it's a it's a terrific cover band out of New Orleans.
TheMixedNuts.com?
The
Prob- Yeah.
the Mixed Nuts, yes.
Cool, yeah, we'll definitely check that out. And
You
then go ahead.
Well, I wanted to make sure that I mentioned, I watched Heather Kennedy's, her first round with you, and she mentioned something about being gifted with Parkinson's. A lot of people need to take a look at themselves in that regard, because although I maybe don't feel gifted with it, but it has definitely had a positive effect on my life because it's helped me to distill out stuff that's bad for me, people, places, things, and it's made me take a second look at, what I cherish and why. Maybe it's not really as cherishable as I.
Yeah, you have a stronger filter, more discernment.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yeah. So I think that's something for everybody to consider, in their quiet time. It's
right,
not all bad.
right.
So
Bill, what has Parkinson's done for you? What is it like to be living with someone with Parkinson's, and how has it impacted what you guys do together?
We do as much as we possibly can. We go to the movies. We travel some. Travel is possible. It's just not as easy as it used to be. We have to stop more often, and we stay away from air travel for reasons other than Parkinson's. I mean,
Right,
talk
right.
about a
You're
broken
just
engine.
adding on top of it, right?
Yeah, let's just forget it. Um, this is a journey that we are on together, and I'm just, you know, I'm um, I'm at a loss for words because it's
that's
eh, usually when I have to make a statement like that, I sit and I write and I come up with it and I edit it. But I think I can add to or agree with what Connie said in the Psychology Today article. Um, this is what I'm here to do,
Mm,
and I
may
do
I
it
add,
willingly.
with as far as the relationship is concerned, I think it's changed forever with the diagnosis because it's a little bit like having a third party in the relationship, that person being Parkinson's, because you can never just go and not consider when you need to take your medicine. Will I be in an off time? What are the conditions like where I'm going? Can I navigate? So it's always there, and it could, you don't want my husband to resent Parkinson's because he's interfering all the time, and yet I'm the one who feels his presence all the time, or its presence. It's like, back off, let me do what
mhm.
I want.
Yeah.
So
I talked to Terry Pease a couple days ago. She just wrote a book about from care partner to caregiver. Her husband passed of Parkinson's, and she wrote this book, but she defines it as a couple's disease. She's like,
definitely,
this is a couple's disease, and
yeah,
fortunately, they had each other. Fortunately, you two have each other,
Mhm.
um, and it sounds like you've been able to take the good parts of it and bring it into your relationship, and the fact that you spent your life serving, both performers, teachers,
mhm,
and now you're just serving the Parkinson's community in such a big way. So that also is so, not everybody can do it, and when you do it, it makes such a huge difference, and also a really good way to take some time to not focus on your own Parkinson's, right?
right. It
But the Parkinson's community has also been of great service to us
Hmm.
with the
yes,
connections, the community, the events, the books.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are many couples who don't survive it. The care partner might just decide, I have had enough,
Yeah.
and that's a shame. I
Yeah.
but I know more than one person with that.
Yeah. Can you speak a little bit to that adjustment piece? Like how was that for you? I mean, I know that you said it took a little bit for you to start reading about it, but what was that adjustment process like?
It was difficult because everything that happened was new.
Hmm.
If something happened, I had to ask myself, now, was that the Parkinson's or did I do that? Or
Mm.
what really caused that? Um, and occasionally I would ask Bill, do I seem, am I talking softer, or little things. But so that adjustment, I had to accept that there were going to be things happening that I would be surprised by. But I think the biggest adjustment I had to make was being out in public, especially when I started to need assistance walking, having a cane or my walker. I was very self-conscious about what people were thinking when I would, stumble in, stutter my walking. And there came a point where I had to tell myself, I don't care. This is survival. This is life or death. I'm going to that restaurant. And if people look at me, I'm just not looking at them.
Yeah.
And because being out and being social is absolutely crucial. As soon as you start locking yourself away, you're done.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
So what was it like to retire? There's we have a lot of people in the community that's a big thing, right? And whether you retired earlier than you thought you would or what, like, how was that process for you?
I felt I was leaving at a good time. I left before they wanted me to leave.
Mm.
There's nothing worse than staying at the party too long and they have to show you the door. But I retired at the right time. The hardest part for me was in the fall when everybody went back to school. I thought, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? But it was just around that same time that I met Sarah again, hooked up with her.
Mm-hmm.
So that helped a lot. But yeah, and Bill and I have had somewhat different feelings about retirement. He was so overworked and had a lot of administrative, you can tell by the borough, but he had a tougher time, I think, than I did. I was working with the students all the time and other faculty members, and I had fun most of the time. I think when I didn't have fun, I was just tired.
Mm-hmm.
But I wish I had realized then how much fun I was really having and appreciated it more.
Oh yeah.
Instead of being critical of it. But no, it was fine.
Yeah.
It was really fine.
How's retirement now, Bill? How is it now?
It's fantastic. I couldn't have done things like this if I were still working.
Right.
Somebody said, Bill, when you retire, you're going to have to get used to it. And it did. It took me about 10 minutes. And I'd been there 34 years.
Wow.
Doing the same thing. And I think one of the reasons I wanted to retire was that the students changed so much.
Mm.
Jan and I went to schools very European oriented in their teaching style, which was master apprentice. And you can't get away with that anymore.
Mm.
So
one of the first jazz band rehearsals Bill had when we moved here, he had to rehearse the band on an evening because there were no rooms available during the day. And since he was an underdog, jazz band rehearses at night. Well, he came home one night and said, Jan, we have made a terrible mistake. We have goofed. We have screwed up big royally. So what happened? He said, well, at the beginning of rehearsal, this kid came up to me and said, I can't be at rehearsal tonight. Bill said, but you're standing right here, right now. We're having rehearsal right now. Oh, but I can't stay. This is the only time I have to go get the beer for my buddy's birthday party.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Whoa. So it's a different place now, but a lot of our colleagues over there, and I think this maybe speaks to the wide Parkinson's community. If you're going to retire and your job is all you have, it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
We have former colleagues at LSU that will never retire because first of all, they're tenured, that you can't make them retire, even though they've become less than productive. What else? They don't have anything else to do. They can't imagine life without the students, the building, the whatever it is. And I got over it pretty quickly.
And because they were so dedicated to what they did, they're basically leading kind of a subsidized life. If the university were to suddenly evaporate, they don't know how to do anything else.
Right. Yeah. So you were in a lot of ways forced early on to be finding lots of different things outside of your work. And so that when you left, you were ready and you had a lot of other things going on.
Yeah. And actually the sewing I did when I was in high school.
Mm.
But I had to drop it when I was in music school because I didn't have the time to give.
Right.
Right. So, yeah. So that's big.
Well, it's lovely talking to you both. Is there anything that you think you want to share with the community? What do you wish you knew 17 years ago when you were diagnosed?
I wish I had known how important exercise is.
Mm,
And I wish I had given more time to it then.
mm.
I really do. I know exercise is a bad word to people sometimes, but it is really what gives me my energy.
What do you do
Well,
regularly for
I
now?
have a stationary bike that I try to ride every day. And of
Mhm,
course, playing the piano is athletic if you
mhm,
really are into it. So I do that every day. Then twice a week I go to a facility where I have a personal trainer and we do all these weight resistant things, planks. I do bridges with a 35-pound weight on my stomach. So then I'll do all the pulley machines, do the bike, and that is very strenuous. And that has I've lost weight, but I've also gained some muscle.
mhm,
So all very good things. And everybody should remember what one of my therapists said once: motion is lotion.
mhm.
Keep moving. You know, try to stretch when I get up first thing in the morning to kind of get the blood going. Some big stretches. I took the loud and big classes, and they're very beneficial, even though the lady said, well, you don't really need the voice part of this yet, but we're going to do it anyway so that
Yeah,
when and if you need it, it'll be there.
yeah. Oh,
Still
I
doesn't
think
think I
yeah,
need
right?
I
it.
No?
Yeah, I can certainly use my lungs when I need to call him.
Yeah,
So,
that's good.
so
Good. Well, exercise, yeah, definitely. I'm a big fan. Yeah.
that is the one thing I really wish.
He's also discovered this new game. Right before bedtime, she comes into the room and says, "Does this belong here?"
Well, I'm always looking for my path during the night. If there happens to be a pair of shoes in my path, then somebody's going to get hurt.
Right, right.
There is one other thing I want to mention for the greater Parkinson's community. If they don't have one of those little cards identifying them as Parkinson's patients that they have with them all the time, because when we're out in public, now I don't drive by myself anywhere anymore because I'm a target.
Mm,
You know, I can drive and I do drive,
And she
but
drives very well.
I'm not comfortable going somewhere by myself and getting out of the car and struggling.
oh, because so when you get out of the car, people see you as a
Yeah.
target.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
We're
I'm
vulnerable.
walking in
yeah.
and to and from the store. And even in broad daylight now, it's unfortunate that crime has risen so much. But another ambassador told me once she was struggling to walk from the store to her car, and a policeman saw her and accused her of being drunk. And so she had to produce this card that said, I have Parkinson's.
Mhm.
So, there are some hidden things you don't think about that you have to be prepared for.
Right,
You could always say, "Well, officer, I wish I were drunk because
right,
tomorrow I'd be sober."
right. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Oh, thank you guys so much for being here. Just delightful to talk to you both, and
Thank
hope we
you.
can do it again.
This was really a blast.
Yeah,
Thank you for inviting me to do it. And
absolutely.
Bill, thank you for taking time out to do it.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Bye, everybody.